Welcome, Hobo Rider back with you, and I'd like to take this opportunity today to address some of the questions that have come to me with regards to videos in Southeast Asia. I've spent a better part of a decade, as probably previously explained, traveling throughout Southeast Asia to the tune of over 400,000 kilometers. But I wanted to explain why I've never released any major videos with regards to the travels within Southeast Asia. So with that, I'm going to take just a little bit of a water break and we'll dive right back into the reason why. Okay, let's talk about the reason why. A number of years ago, I had actually produced a very nice piece, and that name of that particular piece was going to be 10,000 Miles and Beyond. And it dealt with my travels through the 4 countries of Southeast Asia. But in particular, in one area of it, it dealt with illegal logging. And that was illegal logging in Cambodia. And at the time, I was living in Siem Reap in Cambodia, writing my book. But what this dealt with was the illegal logging taking place within Cambodia, being done by several neighboring countries. Namely, in this particular situation, it was Vietnam. So what had happened was I produced this whole thing with footage that I actually had and put it together, and where I was living in Siem Reap, the apartment complex was owned by a young gentleman whose father actually worked for the Forest Service, what I'm calling the Forest Service, within Cambodia, and their job was to protect the Forest Service resources. So I took the opportunity to show him the footage that I had, and it was titled "Not All Logs Are Legal," and with some pretty damning footage. And once he saw that, it didn't take him very long for him to state, "Jim," he says, "you better not release this." And of course I was a little bit shocked, and I said, "Well, why?" He said, "You release this and you will be dead within 3 days." Well, needless to say, that rocked me back on my heels a little bit. And come to find out, it was within the end, I guess it was at the end of that week, news reports came out that 3 people had been killed in one of these Cambodian logging camps, that this particular one being operated by Vietnam or Vietnamese. And so these 2 people, 2 of the people were actually employees of the Forest Service that were in conjunction working with a journalist, and I'm not going to name who the journalist was or the organization, but nonetheless it was definitely not from Cambodia. It was from a major publication. And so they came across this illegal logging camp. So what they had done is they took the chainsaws that belonged to these sawyers, or the guys who were cutting trees, as well as their motorbikes, and they filmed the whole thing. And very shortly thereafter, the word got back to somebody high up in the government, and let's just say the government's involved in these projects, and the word was given to the Forest Service employees that were there at the park, or the forest, if you will, and the word was given to kill all 3 of those people. And that's exactly what they did. They killed 2 of their own fellow employees, as well as the journalist. Stuffed their bodies in the trunks, and that was the end of that particular story. So, needless to say, I paid a lot of attention to what this young lad was saying. Not only that, but as previously mentioned, his dad worked for the Forest Service. And had this footage gotten out, knowing where I lived and who owned the place where I lived, and his father, there could have been some dire consequences for all of us. So based on that, rather than cut the video apart that I had spent a great deal of time on, I just set it aside. And set it aside up to this point and never went back to it, given the fact that I'm still spending a lot of time in Southeast Asia. But I've come to the conclusion that I think it's time to at least get back and publish the portion that did not include the illegal logging. And what I plan on doing is breaking it down within countries. Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Laos. 3 of those countries I've lived in. and spent a lot of time in, as you probably have already seen if you're watching the videos on my channel. With that, I hope that you'll stay tuned, and I'll keep you abreast of when some of these projects come out, or the videos on particular countries that I will do, and they will be educational, and hopefully they'll be enjoyable for you to watch. With that, this is Hobo Rider looking back at you another time. Thanks for watching, folks. I really appreciate it. And make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. I would like that. Thank you.